Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Podcast 22. We are very close to the end of season 1. And as always, I'm John, Yasha or Sean, and this is
Chris.
It's always a pleasure to have you. This is your voice, your nation. We are the blue collar workers. We've just, for a little bit of a giggle, we've had a power cut here. We weren't entirely sure we were going to have everything upset, but the computer millennial here, just had everything clicked in, digitally put together, rammed up on his own phone, had this. I didn't even, what was it called that you had it? Hotspot. I didn't even know what a fucking hotspot was. That's how much of a Gen Xer I am. Not got a clue. And he's like, don't worry, I've got this. Does that light work? I don't know. I haven't used it in about 2 years. Cling, it works. That's it. He starts running around, fixing everything. Anyway, let's get on with the topics after that bit of a giggle. For my side, I've got the UK Brexit surrender is a good thing. I will go into depth about why the right are crying over what I consider some excellent foreign policy positions that our Prime Minister has been in. And again, I'm not a fan of 𝐾𝐨𝐬𝐵. I never have been, domestically speaking. But as a foreign Prime Minister dealing with foreign problems, he's actually pretty fucking good. He manages to solve a lot of our foreign problems. Now, if he could turn that energy domestically, he might actually win me over. Maybe. Little bit too authoritarian for my taste as a right wing, for a Labour Party. The UK has suspended talks on trade deals with Israel. It's like icing on a cake for me. Alhamdulillah. UK suspends talks on trade deals with Israel. That's a from a country that was a staunch Zionist, as in our nation is very staunch Zionistic as a political bodies. This is a massive, massive thing. Netanyahu's in deep trouble. PM U-turns on winter fuel for the elderly after considerable backlash from the right and centre of the country. This is something that has irked a lot of Britons. Us in the centre, the right, I would even dare say some of the left are irritated by it, because the people who have winter fuel bills, who need them, are very, very vulnerable people. And I don't see how you can be on the left and want to harm vulnerable elders. And then chemical castration for paedophiles and sex offenders. About fucking time. On Chris's side we have...
Alright, start off with UK inflation jumps the highest in over a year. Literally.
Mine's good news, this is bad news, it seems today.
No, I've got a bit of good news as well. I always try to end on positivity. UK 2030 clean energy target has took a massive blow due to latest cuts.
We can't do it.
Yeah. Obviously, relating into...
the winter
fuel. Obviously, is it too late for a U-turn?
No.
Yeah. Rachel Lettuce Reeves, blows taxpayers' money. I'll be going that into thing. I think it's absolutely disgusting what she was using taxpayers' money for, especially the amount. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, Chris is about to have one.
Yeah, and nice, lovely, positive one. Latest studies on breast cancer. The fact they're progressing nicely, and the fact that they've advanced in the case, in fact, regardless how dense your breasts are, they can start detecting early signs of breast cancer now.
Fantastic. Yeah. So when are you getting screened for your members?
Yeah, hey, don't laugh. Men can get breast cancer.
I know, but it's quite rare. Your man boobies might need checking.
Bigger than that, start off with.
UK Brexit surrender is a good thing. Let's get into why the papers say about the new trade deal, shall we? Here goes. The Daily Express thinks it's a betrayal of Brexit in Britain. That's a bloody good thing. The Brexit has almost no positive sides towards it, in my opinion. There have been nothing but pain, hurt and economical damage done to all Britons. The pragmatic approach by the Prime Minister is something I actually credit as doing right. And I'm not a fan of 𝐾𝐨𝐬𝐵. I think he's too authoritarian in my taste as a liberal man. I do have a problem with that. And domestically he has issues. But this foreign stuff, he's really fucking good at it. He keeps coming back with all these good fucking deals. And I'm sorry, it is a good deal. Losing fishing, losing our fishing waters to an agreement that the fishermen were always happy with from 2020, and that hasn't changed, is minor. It is minor comparatively. The cost of living is going to go down because we are now buying food with no tariffs from Europe. That's a fucking boom.
That's a win.
That's a win.
That's a win.
So what do we give up? Very, very little. Very little. I mean, the match cartoon in the Daily Telegraph externally shows fishermen on board a Britain flag trawler saying, "We took back control, but they took back the mackerels, soles and haddocks." The front page says, "Kiss goodbye to Brexit." Brexit was a fucking political disaster. It was a man-made poverty act that has made the British people poorer. It has. There is no metric. Immigration has gone up. People are poorer. Society is poorer. Society is worse off after we left Europe. And the Prime Minister has secured an excellent fucking trade deal. Britain is back on the world stage. Let's be quite frank about that. We are back, says The Guardian. This is. I don't see the negative involving the meltdown from the right. I really don't. The PM is going to make reform obsolete with this. He really is. He's going to do them an enormous amount of damage. This betrayal has cut red tape on trade with the EU to minimal. This betrayal means our youth once again have the same opportunities as are agreed with Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Canada, Andorra, to name a few. This betrayal guarantees our fishermen maintain the same rights that Brexit gave them and are happy to comply since 2020. So they've lost nothing. Our fishermen have lost nothing. This betrayal means the UK holidaymakers no longer suffer at passport control. That's a positive fucking thing.
Oh, that's good. That means no more frigging stupid visa.
This betrayal ensures food prices will be lower across the entire board. We import almost 60% of our food, Britain, from the fucking EU. Less queues at Dover. These are some of the Brexit benefits we are about to lose. And the Brexiteers are fuming. Fuck them. I say it, fuck them. Because nothing in Brexit has benefit. Me and Chris worked through Brexit. It was horrible. You were penny pinching fucking everything. It was mad. And this is the corner we're turning. Britain is finally getting to the point where we can economically start to stand up again and put money back in our pockets. Now, if he fixes the fucking tax system, we might actually solve some of our country's problems. Opinion?
What exactly are we going to lose?
We don't.
We don't lose anything.
The thing that what happens is our fishing waters are being shared under the rules that were done in 2020, which are Brexit rules anyway.
Hang on, so the rules they set up under Brexit for shared waters
is still the same.
Still maintained, which means we haven't lost anything on the fishing front. We now turn around and got a better deal
because
with
our
importation.
fishing industry is so much smaller.
Yeah.
Our Britain's fishing industry is tiny comparative to the Spain and Portuguese fishing industries, who want to have access to the British waters, and it's a fair trade in my opinion. We've traded the access to fishing waters under the rules we wrote in 2020. These aren't even rules that the Europeans wrote. We wrote them, and the Europeans have accepted them.
That's a fucking massive win.
Of course. I don't understand how the fuck the Brexiters are having such a fit about this.
Right, so they're having a fit because of the fact they've actually managed to pull off what was actually meant to be done when they first fucking started.
Absolutely.
let's get that right.
And the youth mobility thing is a brilliant idea. I mean, personally, I'd like it to be larger. I'd like to spend some time in Europe, but we're in our 40s. But, you know, I still think it's a brilliant idea, allowing...
If I was able to go off and do something in Europe without having to deal with all the fucking red tape, I'd be fucking gone.
Absolutely. And I mean, fundamentally, there's no downside to this trade deal with the EU. There's, in my opinion, no downside. Only hardened Brexiters will scream about this. Sovereignty! What the fuck has your sovereignty done to my pocket? What about laws? The laws that are written in Europe benefit all Europeans, including us. What the fuck are you moaning about? Your imaginary fucking empire that has been dead longer than we've been alive. Is that what you're complaining about? The dead empire. The empire that was dead when before I was born and I'm the older of the two of us. What the fuck are you...
Despite the fact people think I'm the older one.
Yeah, no, I like that. I do like that. No, the fact that people think he's my younger brother, you know, that I can get. Glasses, you know, we're both middle-aged, both slightly portly. I mean, he's a dwarfocles, what do you want?
Fuck off.
What was that, Mighty Mouse? Shortly inclined?
I don't mind being called Mighty Mouse, that means I could pick up and throw you through the fucking brick wall, yeah?
But the Brexit surrender, as all the papers, right-wing papers, are going mental about, fuck them. I say it loud and clear, Britain, fuck them. And the reason I say fuck them is because this will benefit your pockets. Your food bills will go down, your holiday transit times will be sped up, the youth mobility will improve our youth, I see no negative to this because the deal, the 2020 deal that was written post-Brexit is the same paperwork that the Europeans are going to use when they enter our waters. There's no loss. And again, and I don't like crediting Keir Starmer. Again, he's an authoritarian. I'm not a fan of his. I'm not somebody who tends to get on well with the way he handles at-home domestic stuff. But he's really fucking good as a Prime Minister when it comes to foreign affairs. And that's a positive thing. And you have to call the positive where it is.
He should be a Foreign Affairs Minister.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If he was a Foreign Secretary, he'd be brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely fucking brilliant. But he's not. He's the Prime Minister and his domestic skills are a bit shit.
Need a bit of work.
No, they're shit. They're shit.
That's what I mean. Need a bit of work.
Anyway, over to you. That was positive. The Brexit surrender was very positive.
On to my one. UK inflation jumps to the highest in over a year on raising energy bills. This is not going to be pleasant.
Jesus.
Prices in the UK were 3.5% higher in April 2025 compared to the same month a year earlier.
Pause for that. That's an important factor that we've only just had this Brexit reset sorted.
Yeah.
Pay attention. This is from April. We will come back to look at these financial stats 2 or 3 months from now, and we will see how that's fared with the price. The inflation is going to go down once we know that our food shopping.
Got to give at least 3 months.
Yeah. 3 months down the line, we will look at this. Yes, this is bad, but we're looking back on April 2024.
Even though it sounds bad,
I genuinely think we're turning a corner.
I sort of think that if it continues the way it is, it's a bit of stability, which I think at the moment is what we need. Compared to a month earlier, according to the Office of National Statistics, ONS, this marks the highest inflation rate since January 2024 and exceeds the economists' expectations for a more modest raise to 3.3. So it's already smashed the raise that they thought it was going to happen anyway. By comparison, inflation stood at 2.6 in the 12 months to March 2025. On a monthly basis, consumer prices rose by 1.2% in April, up sharply from a 0.3% increase in March. Economists have anticipated a significant jump in April, driven by substantial annual increases in various household bills. The rise also reflects the impact of higher business taxes and notable increases in the minimum wage.
It's a good and a bad, but remember, our food bills are about to be hammered down, so this is going to allow more spending time for it.
From what I can gather, remember, inflation's peaked because everything, as a call, we've just had the new tax year, so everything's jumped up. So it might bounce back down.
No, I think it will.
Yeah.
I think in 3 months we will look at this because, again, I cannot stress, and I know I'm going on about the Brexit surrender, but reality is these tie in together. This inflation I think we've reached the peak. We've reached the peak on that inflation, Chris.
Yeah.
And once the cost of these livings come down, we're going to see a nosedive of many of our financial problems.
According to the ONS, the main contributors to the rise in inflation were higher costs in housing and housing services, transport, recreation and cultural. These were partially offset by falling prices in clothing and footwear.
See, there we go. So things are offsetting, but housing is a fucking major problem here in the UK. And it's a fundamental reason why, as I have said many times, you cannot solve some of our migrant problems without housing, without increasing the birth deficit in the UK. We have a monstrous birth deficit. These are all interconnecting points that need an interconnecting plan.
I see. Inflation is well expected to remain above 3% for the rest of the year, which it could temper expectations of further interest rate reductions from the Bank of England, whose inflation target is 2%. On Tuesday, the bank's chief economist, 𝐬𝐿, said borrowing rates have been cut too quickly, an indication that he is concerned about underlying inflation pressures. Since the BOE, Bank of England, began cutting borrowing costs last August from a 16-year high of 5.2%, the bank has proceeded on gradually by lowering the main interest rate by 0.25% point every 3 months. Earlier this year, it reduced to 4.25. Following the latest inflation updates, Rob Wood, chief UK economist at Pattern Microeconomics, said that cuts on a precise quarterly schedule are far from certain. Although inflation is expected to remain above the bank's target, this year. Economists expect a decline in 2026, partly due to a recent trade deal between the US and the UK, which rolled back some of the tariffs previously put on by. Right. Seems the fact we've managed to obviously actually come to a deal with Trump now with our trade and our lovely win with Europe.
I do think that we have turned a corner, because as gloomy as that looks, we are looking back. Remember, most of these analytics tend to look backwards.
Even though they're looking at the case, the fact that the target was 2% and it's 1% over, but them cutting percentage interest rates down to 4.25 on borrowing costs, and the fact that general inflation is sitting around 3%, is projected to do that for the rest of the year, that says to me it's starting to stabilise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with the new EU deal as well, hopefully within about 6 months that will make an impact.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I genuinely think as long as we stay the course with these two deals we've got, one from America, one from Europe, that's us done. Well, we're getting business coming in from India. We've got an Indian deal that's only just recently been done as well.
Yeah, that says that our foreign deals are starting to fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as that's all concreted in, we can then start solving domestic shit.
We should be solving domestic shit now. He needs to start planning fucking houses.
Yeah.
I fundamentally hold that the lack of housing is a critical problem in the UK as it is.
And to your
absolutely. The UK has suspended trade talks with Israel. Mwah! Mwah! This is like candy.
Why the fuck did we have trade with Israel? Everything they're fucking going on anyway.
Chris, normal Britons are disgusted at what Israel does. The politic class are slowly catching up to the outrage that the general public have.
The latest on what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like,
it's horrible.
Fuck's
horrific, mate. I've been at front row seat because my feed is covered a great deal by my Muslim brothers and sisters, and it's horrifying to see. And I have been railing about this for years, literally years. The UK summoned the country's ambassador and imposed fresh sanctions on the West Bank settlers, as Foreign Secretary David Lammy called the military escalation in Gaza morally unjustifiable. The move follows warnings of starvation in Gaza after Israel launched a new military operation over the weekend. There were fiery exchanges in Parliament with Conservative Shadow Foreign Secretary Dame Priti Patel. You know, the woman who went off illegally in breach of her fucking goddamn job to go and suck up to the Israelis. That same Dame, that same corrupt politician. How the fuck is she still in office? As an MP, I don't know. Who suggests the actions would be welcomed by Hamas, but also angrily call for the government to go further. In response, Israel's foreign spokesperson said external pressures would not divert Israel from its path in defending its existence. Israel is not in danger of its existence. Israel's occupation of the West Bank does not endanger the state of Israel. If that stopped and those settlers were removed, Israel would still be there. It's the ideology of Zionism that is the problem here. The ideology of Zionism is the cancer. The state of Israel will survive the collapse of its illegal settlements in the West Bank and its withdrawal from Gaza. Though it will be diminished. It will have its power diminished. There's no question about that. Global experts have warned of a looming famine because the Israeli government has blocked supplies of food, fuel, medication to Gaza for the last 11 weeks.
Why?
They want to kill them. They want the land.
If that ain't frigging concrete evidence, they just want to commit genocide.
Oh, yeah, no,
I don't know what it is.
And the political class realise they can't defend this anymore. France, Canada, Britain, Spain already is off the boat. Spain already left a while ago. Ireland's always... My father's people were always involved in this. They were always kicking off about this. The Irish and the Muslims have been telling you for fucking years, Britain, the evils of Israel. And now that they're coming out and the political class are starting to pay attention, Benjamin Netanyahu is fucking evil. And Donald Trump is not going to be able to save him. And Donald Trump isn't trying to save him. That's the scary thing. You realise that Trump stopped talking to Netanyahu.
I think Trump's realised what he was doing.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit on, mate.
Yeah. He stopped talking to Netanyahu, so the rumours say. Officials say the scale of humanitarian crisis after 2 months of blockade played a part in the latest announcements, as did growing pressure from MPs and the public. Ministers who were also responding to the lack of any clear path towards ceasefire and a sense of frustration from the White House, with President Donald Trump sidestepping the country on his Middle Eastern tour last week and Vice President J.D. Vance postponing a trip there this week. The Israeli government has already been warned it must end its egregious military expedition and immediately allow humanitarian aid into Gaza in a joint statement from the leaders of the UK, Canada, France on Monday. This is serious. These are normally the biggest cheerleaders, politically speaking. Not me, not Chris, not most of the British public. These are the largest political cheerleaders of the Israeli regime. And it's starting to unravel now. It is, we are literally seeing the collapse of the external political support. And this is critical, because sanctions are the next logical step. And Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to back off, because his very career retains it. He has to keep his radical right wing, absolute nutcase settlers on board, because if his government collapses, he's going to prison in Israel. Fuck The Hague, there are criminal charges waiting for him when he leaves office.
Damn.
In his own country.
He's done that bad.
Yeah. He's wanted by the Israeli warped courts. The courts of Israel aren't exactly good. You know, they're very warped. They don't give fair and given justice. Remember, these are the people that lock up 10, 12-year-olds for throwing stones. Do you know what I'm saying? And treat them like adults in criminal justice. The Israeli courts are a joke, but the Israeli courts want Benjamin Netanyahu, and the only way he can do that is he remains in power. He's currently immune to a prosecution. But that's over. He's fucked. Because he's losing America's support, politically speaking. Not the Senate themselves or the Congress, but he has lost Donald Trump, because Donald Trump feels like he's been manipulated by them.
I won't be surprised if for the next couple of weeks Trump turns around and orders the Senate to back off.
I don't think that's possible, because AIPAC, which is one of the biggest donors to the Senate, is an Israeli lobby group. This is why lobbying is morally bankrupt. I've said to you before, Chris, lobbying is fucking evil. It needs to be outlawed across the Western world. It is legalised bribery. That's literally what it is. The Israeli government has already been warned it must end. I've said that. Israel said it has allowed 5 lorries carrying humanitarian aid into the territories, but the UN humanitarian chief said that this was a drop in the ocean of what is urgently needed. Later on Tuesday, the UN confirmed that other permission had been given to send about 100 aid trucks into Gaza. No aid had yet been distributed. Prime Minister Sir 𝐶𝐶 called the current situation intolerable, saying humanitarian aid needed to get in pace. In the House of Commons, there were shouts of shame from MPs as Lara set out how an Israeli minister had said that their latest operations would be cleansing Gaza, destroying what's left and relocating Palestinians to a third country where Israel no longer wanted them. This is what we are. This is apartheid. This is genocide. There's no other language for it. It's genocide. Pure, unadulterated genocide. They are forcing a civilian population out of their homes. That is genocidal. Israel is doing it. We are watching it in real time. We've been telling you, as the Muslim population, this for the political class for years. For fucking years, that was their goal. I don't like being honest. I don't like being found truth. That's the problem. This is one of these bitter truths I didn't want to have. But a sheikh of mine says, tell the haq, which is the truth, no matter how bitter it is. And the truth is, Israel always wanted to ethnically cleanse these people.
They just needed the person in power to do it, and now they have.
Yeah. And we are in this moral quandary. Israel has to be sanctioned by the Western world for things to change. They genuinely do. We must call this what it is, he told an MP. It's an extreme, it is dangerous, it is repellent, it is monstrous, and I condemn it with the strongest possible terms. Lamia said Israel had suffered a horrendous attack on October the 7th in 2023, and the UK had always backed the country's right to defend itself. However, the Foreign Secretary said that the Israeli government had set out a morally unjustified and utterly counterproductive path that would not be bring hostages safely home. Instead, in accusing the government led by Benjamin Netanyahu of isolating Israel from its friends, partners around the world, as he announced negotiations on a free trade deal have been suspended. The Middle Eastern Minister Hannah Falcon told Israeli Ambassador 𝐶𝐶 ♪ that the UK would not stand by as Israel increased military operations in Gaza. Today I summoned the Israeli ambassador to the FCDO, Falcon said in a post on X. I made it clear the UK's opposition to expanding military operations in Gaza and rising violence and intimidation by Israeli settlers against Palestinian communities in the West Bank. Remember, the city of Hebron has checkpoints that the Palestinians can only go through once in a day. and then they have to go round to a different checkpoint to get home. And that comes from the programme Settler. It's on BBC Two. You have to see it. Britain, you have to see the programme Settler. Me and Chris have watched it. It's fucking painful to watch. It's horrifying, but it is real. And this is done by a BBC Jewish man. I need to stress that. That entire documentary is done by a Jewish man from the British Broadcasting Centre.
Damn.
Terrifying stuff to see, Britain. Terrifying stuff. And you realistically have to fix the problem. Sanctions are where we're going to have to go. That's where it is. Dame Betrayal said, strong words will do little to resolve the real challenges that are taking place and the suffering we are seeing taking place day in, day out. She added that it should be the cause of concern that the UK government's actions have been supporting Hamas, a terrorist organisation. Priti Patel, you are a bought and paid fucking Zionist. Why would I listen to you? You broke ministerial rules to go and take bribes from the fucking Israelis and you weren't punished because Boris Johnson is an incompetent cunt. Who the fuck are you joking? We all know you're a fucking Zionist. It boils my blood that this woman is granted still political leverage and currency to talk like this. I mean, it's horrible, Chris. It's fucking horrific. And finally our government's starting to pay attention.
And then it won't be long before she's out.
Well, she lost the party election. She'll lose it again when Kevin Badenoch loses a vote of confidence, and that's coming. Kevin Badenoch is not going to make Prime Minister. And I wanted to curb about this because I know many people say that we see Kevin Badenoch and the Conservatives trying to speak up like they're the actual opposition. The Conservative Party will never get back into power. Never. Because the reliance that they had on the ethno-nationalists now know Farage can win some power. And that can influence British politics. So the Conservatives will never, ever be back in power. Because without the ethno-nationalists, they can't win elections.
Ouch.
And why would the ethno-nationalists go for the light coffee when they can go for the dark, frothy stuff of the ethno-nationalistic reform vote? So you see what I'm saying? Without them, Conservatives can't get elected. Without the Nigel Farage voters, the Conservatives have lost, because they keep switching to the right. I'm certain that you voted Conservative at some point, haven't you, in the past?
At some point, yeah.
Yeah, so have I. I've even stood as a Conservative councillor prospect. I didn't get there, but I have done it here in Gloucestershire. So this tells you that we, the centralists, are abandoning the Conservatives because you continue to drift far more right-wing than any of us would consider acceptable. And because of that, you're chasing this ethno-nationalist vote, you are destroying your own party. Because we want nothing to do with ethno-nationalism. The ethno-nationalists don't want you, they're going to vote for the far right who are... let's call Nigel Farage Reform Party what it is. It's a far-right reactionary party, anti-migrant party, one policy party. Nigel Farage just dreams of being Prime Minister. He's never going to be Prime Minister either. Because again, he's splitting the vote between him and the Conservatives of the ethno. No one in their right mind, no one in the centre is going to vote for Nigel Farage. So neither Farage nor the Conservatives are going to become elected. Which means we are going to be seeing more left, centre and centre parties taking over. It's our fucking time, Chris. Once this podcast takes off, we are going into fucking politics, darling.
Do you really want me in politics?
Oh, no, the question is, do you want me in politics without you? That's the question.
We're balancing each other right. Let's get that
do
right.
you want me in politics without you?
If I want to see chaos, yes.
Parliament's burning. Excellent.
What's Lockwood started now?
This is very true. Very, very true. Anyway, on your side, what we got?
UK 2023 clean energy target takes a massive blow.
It was unachievable.
Yeah. Blow to UK's 2020-30 energy target as SSE cuts spending on renewables.
Now, I don't agree with cutting the spending on renewables because we need to be more energy efficient.
That's the reason why it's took a massive hit. One of UK's biggest energy developers will cut its planned spending on renewable projects to in a blow to the government's 2023 cleaning power targets. SSE warned that it will be unlikely to meet its own renewable energy goals for the end of the decade after shrinking its 5-year spending plans by $3 billion to $17.5 billion. Spending cuts will include investing $1.5 billion less on developing renewable energy incentives, including offshore wind farms and hydropower project, with another 1.5 cut from its planned spending on any other energy and transmission projects.
You see, I have a problem with that because I think we need to be more energy efficient. I don't necessarily think wind power and hydro are going to replace nuclear. I think they should be part of a battery, and the government needs to put money in there. The government itself needs to put more money in it.
Yeah. SSE outgoing Chief Executive Alistair Phillips-Davies blamed delays to policy and planning and a changing macro environment for the spending cuts, which have cast fresh doubt on the government's clean power goals. So
let me stop there. That word is really important. A changing macro environment. What he's basically saying is that the returns are so small that the investors are having problems justifying these investments. So because there's so little government support, the macroeconomics means that we're getting down to the final 100 grand, 200 grand's profit, 300 grand's, and investors think that their money could be making the money elsewhere.
Phillips-Davies said the company has faced delays to Scottish renewable energy projects, the Curry Glass hydropower project in the Highlands, and to the Berwick Bank offshore wind farm development, which was submitted to the Scottish government for the approval in the late 2022. Together, these renewable energy projects would power the equivalent of approximately 9 million households in the UK once operating. SSE has also faced delays to a second phase of its 𝐼𝐸 Bank offshore wind farm off the Irish coast.
Jesus.
The government has aimed to double the UK's offshore wind farm power, triple its solar power, and quadruple its offshore wind capacity by 2030 as part of the plan to create a power system 95% free of fossil fuels.
It's doable. The problem is it's doable. It's having investment money.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think that our renewable energy should be our only thing. We need to build more nuclear. We need a diverse industrial capacity for all of our energy needs. And fossil fuel is still going to play a part when me and him are gone and dead. Okay, I'm telling you that now. We are no closer than when we were. They were talking about it when we were teenagers.
Yeah, we need to reduce it. So even though fossil fuel energy will still be around for a very, very long time, we need to get it to the point where it's
it's only the addition that drives us forward.
Yeah. We are not called the little backup if something hiccups.
Yeah, but we're not there. We're just not there, and that's a problem. And electric cars are not the problem. Are not the solvent solution, as many of the green belt screamers would normally say.
Electric cars are the. Try and think.
Tip of the iceberg?
No, not tip of the iceberg. I can't try and think of the word now. The benefit from
a diversified power grid.
Power grid.
The problem being is we need that investment money. And I need to say this, and I know many people are going to be quite offended about it. We need Chinese money. Because America's investing in nothing. We haven't seen an American investment in the UK in our lifetime, I suspect. Maybe in certain sectors like the military, there might have been some investments. We haven't seen...
I say military, definitely, because the fact they can turn around and patent it and then use it on their side as well.
Of course. I'm certain that we haven't seen a big foreign investment in a while. And we need to stop the Sinao attacks. We need to stop the Chinese attacks. We need to start accepting the fact that, one, Britain, you're not a superpower. You're not even a major power anymore. You're a medium power at best. Two, we need massive investment into our infrastructure. And you're only going to get that from either Europe, America, or, heaven forbid, Russia. But we would never do that. Let's be quite frank, the British people would never accept an investment from Russia. Just because their hostile imperialistical nature. Or China. And these are things that we need
China I can understand.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're just so far away, we wouldn't be threatened by it. I genuinely feel that Britain should have investment policies.
I would say, where's most... I could guarantee I could probably flip something over on this table that says made in China.
Absolutely. We're happy to have our computers, our laptops, our phones, our materials, our bags, our big designer clothing made in China, but we're not happy for them to be in our investment in our projects that actually change British lives. I mean, it's just raving fucking hypocrisy.
I keep getting confused. Is it China or Japan that has the amazing train system?
Japan. Japan has the best train system on the planet.
Yeah,
and as we've said in our previous podcast,
we need them to come over and start
just hire a fucking Chinese train building company, bring them over, relay the entire British trains, pay them a nice fat check, let them go run our trains like the Japanese do. I fundamentally find that our energy deficiencies are a massive problem for the UK.
I would not be surprised if they're hidden by people that are objecting to the wind farms, which I don't get because they're off the coast.
No, the objection is an irrelevance. We need any form of energy independence we can get.
But going by the sense of that, it's money.
Yeah, it's money. Money is the problem. Government needs to step up. This is one of those domestic things that I say Keir Starmer does badly. This is something he should have actually solved.
Yeah, should have done dusted that a while ago. On to your next point now, which I think links into my one as well, if I remember correctly.
The US hasn't received more than 7.5 billion loan in a 50-year loan in 50 years. World War II was the last time America invested in Britain.
Damn.
So I don't consider the Americas, this is still finishing off the power thing, America as an ally of Britain. I really don't, because they don't give a fuck about us. They barely give a fuck about their own people, and they certainly don't give a fuck about anyone in Europe.
Well, the fact that I haven't invested since World War II just says it all, really.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely does.
We just need to accept investment from other sources.
It's not open for even conversation, in my opinion. The PM U-turns on winter fuels for the elderly after considerable backlash from the right and centre of the country. Yeah. To be fair, this was always a non-starter. The elderly are some of our most vulnerable citizens. They are the people that society should look after. And I'm a very firm believer in protecting the elderly society. So Keir Starmer has been forced into a dramatic U-turn over the government's controversial winter fuel payments cuts after months and months of mounting rage from voters, Labour MPs, Conservatives, everyone and anyone in between. The government has weathered and they finally cracked. In a major climb down over Rachel Reeves' decision to strip payments from 10 million pensioners, the Prime Minister said he wanted to look at widening eligibility as the economy improves. But Number 10 refused to say when the changes would be in place by the winter, or would they, who would be affected, meaning cash-strapped pensioners could face another winter of misery. It was inevitable that the Prime Minister would have to climb down from this. Not because he's anti-elderly, but because he's trying to save money somewhere. It's because the reality is it irritates everyone on the UK.
Because you're not looking after the elderly.
Yeah, you're not looking after our people. And that is going to cause problems. And the British people are very funny about this.
Something needs to be done about it before August, before winter comes, so they're not strapping for energy this winter.
The decision to means test the annual payment of up to £300 rather than give it to all pensioners was widely blamed for Labour's disastrous local election results. Bollocks. Nigel Farage cut a chunk out of the Tory party, and we're seeing the reality of it. What would have been Conservative seats have turned into Nigel Farage seats. This isn't a disaster. Yes, Labour has taken a kicking. Yes, there is a kicking going on. But the bulk of these successes, unlike what the right-wing press want you to believe, are coming from the Conservatives finally having a bust-up with their very, very toxic right-wing.
About time as well.
Yeah. So, Keir told the Commons during Prime Minister's question time, I recognise that people are still feeling the pressure of the cost of living crisis, including pensioners. As the economy improves, we want to make sure people feel the improvements in these days to come and their lives go forward. This is why we want to ensure that as we go forward, more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel payments. But Labour MPs, including Ian Larry and Zara Sultana on the left of the party, urged their leader to go further and reverse the cuts in full, whilst Welsh First Minister Baroness Ileran Morgan said she wanted significantly more pensioners to get the cash. I mean, this isn't just a left thing. I need to stress this. Centralists like me and Chris do not approve of this. This is not something that anybody in the political spectrum should realistically consider a vote winner. You don't fucking make your pensioners poorer. Okay, they've worked hard for their country. They should be looked after.
And half the time they look after the grandkids as well.
Yeah, there's that too.
Why are you stripping winter fuel payments, not only to keep them warm, but also the grandkids as well?
No, I know, it's mad, it's mad. The policy was one of Mrs. Reeves' first announcements when she took office last summer. She's fucking done. I'm telling you, that woman is going out fucking...
I was going to say, what I'm going to come on, she's definitely
Allies of the Chancellor said she and Sir 𝐾𝐿 were united on the U-turn, but the fact that the PM made the announcement, effectively taking ownership of the issue, will further fuel speculation about her future in the role. She's done. She's done. This woman has not successfully balanced anything in our economy right now. And this is why I think Keir Starmer, as a foreign minister, he does really well, as I've said to you before. Yeah. But as domestically, he's left the Chancellor in fucking charge. And she's shattered her job. Absolute dog shit. I've seen better sculpted poos art in modern art fucking colleges than what this woman has done. I'm not a fan of modern art at all. Right? I'm very much a centralist, yeah? That looks nice, I can get behind tapestries, I can get behind Phoenicians, Arabic stuff, I'm Muslim obviously, I can get behind Russian art, decent Russian art, I can get behind decent American art, but putting a piece of shit and calling it art is a bit of a thing for me. Yeah, that's just not a thing. And Rachel Reeves' ability to handle our economy has been as useless as modern fucking art dog shit. Sorry to make you laugh. Because I don't think the woman has a clue how to run an economy.
I think she's overstepped her mark and tried proving a point and hit the wrong point.
Yeah, completely. They don't want to face the reality. You have to rebalance the tax system. No one in the Labour Party, no one in the two main parties want to talk about the 100,000-page tax. They fix that. They solve the tax issue. They will see money flowing into the government coffers, as corporations are no longer tax dodging. And lawfully, they're legally doing. I'm not saying they're breaking any laws here. Let me be very, very clear.
There's too many back doors.
There's too many back doors that are lawfully given. They all have to be closed. Then the country's infrastructure can be repaired. Anyway, Chris has got to be about Rachel Reeves as well, so this is a double bubble now.
Yeah, double whammy. And I'm looking forward to this one. Rachel Lettuce 2.0 Reeves. Yeah. I'm sorry, you've earned that nickname.
To be fair, though, she's lasted longer than the head of lettuce.
Yeah.
She has lasted.
Hence the reason why she's called 2.0, which means she lasted a tiny bit longer. But this latest stunt is fucking disgusting. Blew £65,000 of taxpayers' money, cash, on 3-day trip to China.
A lot of that will be security.
Yeah.
Can you prove that that's luxury? Is that security? You see that now. This is I know you've probably got that from the right-wing press, so I've got to ask this question: is that security cost? Because as somebody who works in the security industry, I'm telling you that is not a lot of money. That's really not a lot of money when you're talking about personal protection.
Yeah, but that's personal protections, but that's coming from taxpayers' money without a justified reason, more than likely.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, let's see what the article says.
Rachel Reeves blew £65,000 of taxpayers' cash on a three-day vanity trip to China. Yeah, bear in mind this is vanity, which means basically her own personal fucking trip, not a government-based trip.
This is where I wanted to clarify, because that was 65 grand. Her getting bodyguards going for a business trip to China. Cool.
If it's a business trip, I could guarantee you it would not have come up. They would have gone, was that really justified? They would have turned around and done so. Vanity trip to China, as Britain launched into economic crisis. As UK borrowing hit a record 16-year high and the value of the pound plummeted, the Chancellor jetted east as part of a 11-strong delegation, all in business class.
Yeah, I'm very big to slag off Rachel Reeves, but this sounds like a right-wing hack job.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, Chris, is because what was the breakdown of that spending? They don't ever tell you that, do they?
They never. As much as I tried to literally turn around and go
so
into
since we don't know what the breakdown is, that could 60 grand in security for dignitaries is not a lot of money. I'm telling you that now. 60 grand for security is not a lot of money, Britain. So
literally
for 3 days. So yeah.
At the time, Reeves said January jaunt to Beijing and Shanghai was to open economic
and financial dialogue with China.
But Tory MP and former Security Minister Tony
Yeah, stop, Chris.
Yeah,
there it is.
wing, yeah.
Former security
Accused
minister
her of fleeing when her budget had sacked the economy and debit rates were rocketing.
You see, now you've got to remember who is the person criticising her here.
Hang on, Liberal Democrat Department leader, Treasury spokesman 𝐬𝐶𝐭 urged Reeves to return to the UK to urgently address the ongoing crisis in the markets and announce a serious plan to.
Now that's justifiable call. That is just. I'm not here to criticise, but if she comes, let's be fair about this. In a couple of weeks, if it turns up that China's about to drop a couple of billions worth of fucking investment, that 65 grand won't mean shit. That's 60. I mean, that's what we got to say here. Because I'm sick and tired of this anti-Sino bollocks, because it benefits us in no way. Your economy, your phone, your pocket is being hurt. The right-wing press will do anything to damage the Labour government and the success that it has gained.
Newly published details of the cost of the trip revealed everyone on it flew out business class. Reeves and 3 other Treasury officials jetted there and back at a cost of public purse of almost 30,000. A senior comms official returned in premium economy on a 6,235 flight package. A photographer and events manager both flew back in economy, racking up a total joint bill of over £8,500. Damn, freaking, it's just flights.
No, it's flight costs.
Yeah.
And that is our Chancellor. No, I'm not, this is the right-wing press, Chris, they're kicking off.
I'd say that's just flight costs.
Yeah, that's the point, mate. Yeah. You know, business class is expensive, but that's our Chancellor. Would you want your Chancellor in economics? The British Chancellor? Even if she's doing a bad job, it's the office you're thinking of. Do you want the British Chancellor flying in business in economics? Not really. It makes us look cheap.
It makes anyone look cheap.
Yeah. Working class people go in economics. We all do it. We're not going to sit in there. But if you're talking about the Chancellor of a country, yes, she should be in business class.
But I'm thinking, as long as she could come back with justified reason why she was there.
Trade. If she comes back with trade, Chris, I don't care. 65 grand is pocket change if we get some investment.
That's what I mean by legitimate reason why she was there. She comes back with a decent trade deal, or the fact that it was actually legitimately full to try and set stuff up. She's being slandered that it isn't, especially since the fact the time she done it wasn't exactly
the timing. No, I completely agree. The timing was bad, and yes, the Liberal Democrat Deputy Treasurer has a point to make. Completely, the economy has a thing. But if she comes back and there's a couple of billies worth of Chinese trade on the table, they can shut their fucking holes, the whole lot of them, because we are sinking because of their shitty Brexit, and this is the right-wing press that actually supports Brexit. Let me take a guess. That was from the Sun.
No,
it wasn't. Okay. It sounds like something the Sun would write.
No, it weren't from the Sun.
Okay.
Daily Star.
Oh, fuck me, that's worse. Chris, that's worse. I at least credited you with the fucking Sun. What I've got a problem with that point is there is a grievances from these right-wing press who don't want us as Britons to succeed as a people. And I do have what is she going to bring back from that? What will that do? Remember, trade deals take time to develop. So is she flying out to build connections with China? Does the Chinese business connections improve our trade? What is the bonus? Now, the Liberal Democrat leader says, bad timing, get the fuck back here, sort out our economics. If you've got a trade deal, good, but sort this out. That I agree with. But the fucking defence secretary wants nothing to do with China, wants to act like he's America's little fucking poodle. I don't buy it. And that's what the Senate Defence Secretary was. He's a poodle. He's an American poodle for nothing. What do we get from America? I ask you.
Well, clearly no investment since World War II.
No investment since World War fucking II. So why the fuck are we constantly running up? Oh, America this, America that. If the Chinese are willing to put money in our country, let them. I know many people have a problem with that, but let them. The economics of this nation need to be stabilised. I am sick to the back teeth of people saying, sovereignty, NATO, where the fuck are you spending that? Does that affect your pockets? Have you managed to get your fucking fuel bills? Are your children getting properly educated? Is the school costing you too much? Tell me that you're doing your part. And then when you look at your politics and realise your kids are starving and you're having problems with the economics of your nation, you then want to say, long live America. America's done fuck all for you. it boggles my brain sometimes with British politics. It really does. Well, I've got. In my opinion, this is a good thing. This bit I've got is really, really good.
Well, it'll be followed by my last lovely good point as well.
Chemical castration for paedophiles and sex offenders in the UK prison systems. Yes. Yes. Studies have shown using drugs to dull the sexual urges can slash repeat offenders by up to 60%. A government source says for too long we have turned a blind eye to the threat sex offenders pose, considering the solutions too difficult, unpalatable. Shaban isn't squeamish about doing what it takes to protect the public. Recommendations by the Independent Sentencing Review to control small voluntary pilots to the southwest have been rejected as too soft. Instead, we'll be doing 20 prisons in England and Wales ahead of planned rolled out national-wise. Allies highlight how the US states such as California has chemical castration as a mandatory condition for jailed sex offenders freed on parole. And whilst ministers would start with jailed offenders, insiders say that they will explore broader the schemes to those given suspended sentences. And this is, I remind you, Britain, voluntary. Some of these sex offenders, because they can't control their own sexual urges, have asked for these drugs. So this is in no way being forced on these criminals. This is something that is voluntarily offered to allow them to control their hormonal imbalances. Because many of these people have monstrous levels of testosterone. Monstrous levels. Like 3 times as many as normal people. And this is a way of them chemically balancing themselves. But it is a form of chemical castration. But it allows them to have a normal life. And for repeat sex offenders, I think this is absolutely necessary. I don't think it goes far enough with sex offenders. Repeat rapists, child molesters. I think it should be mandatory.
My honest opinion, if you're a repeat sex offender / child rapist, you lose the balls.
That doesn't actually solve our problems.
No, plus the drugs. You lose the balls plus the drugs, because then you can't reprocreate. You can't then have any kids. Therefore, you're cutting out that tendency straight out.
It's eugenics, Chris. Eugenics is a bad thing to be talking about. When you fuck around with populations in eugenics, that is a really tetchy ground to go by.
No, it's just case of fact. If you've been committed.
Of course. If you're an unrepentant fucking child molester, I say hang him. I say hang the fucker.
This is just my minimum stand. If you're a repeat offender, rapist, child molester, anything like that, you lose the right to reprocreate, and you're literally put in the chemicals.
Chemical castration prevents them from reproducing anyway.
I'll just turn around and just go one step extra and remove the frigging shit anyway. That's just me.
Savage.
That's just me being
He's
a harsh fucker.
Savage.
I'm like, no, sorry, you've lost the right. It fucking goes.
Damn. But yes, chemical castration does that anyway. From the little bit of research,
it does it chemically, but I'll be like, just as a physical reminder.
Snippy, snip, snip. But to be fair, some sex offenders. The psychologists say it's completely uncontrolled. They can't control it, and many of them have asked to go on these drugs. They've begged to go on these drugs.
Now, for the ones that are actually turned around and realise that
the cruel, evil bastards, those are the ones you chop.
Yeah, I was going to say the ones that realise that it's more a hormonal imbalance more than anything else, and they've turned around and said, I need this controlled because it's just not getting me anywhere. Fair enough, but for the cruel, evil fuckers, sorry.
Yeah, of course, and we now know who those types are. We know who the psychopaths are. We know how to identify people who have no emotions. We can sociopolitically understand how the mind works. So the psychopath, the sociopath, the people who are incapable.
I would go one step further. The migrants that come in with the sex offenders like thing, it's mandatory they go on the chemical castration before they come to the country.
Oh, Chris, that's a bit right-winged. Oh,
no, you want it eliminated. You got to cover all bases.
Jesus Christ! Fucking Brexiters are going to ask you to come join Farage's party.
No, that's just my thing. If you've been convicted as a sex offender, rapist, child molester, and you want to come into this country, you're immediately handed these drugs. You don't take them. You can fuck off.
Do you know? To be fair, I wouldn't even let them in the country. That is part of the category that you just turn around and send back to France.
Yeah, the reason I say do that is because that is the most effective deterrent ever.
No. Forget the deterrent point, Chris. When you find out that they're sex offenders, you just turn them around and send them back to France. You say to the French, I'm not taking your fucking paedophile criminals. They're going back.
Bang them, and then you literally just backtrack and track the ones that are already in there and go, here are these, or are deporting you.
Yeah. I fundamentally think that deporting criminal migrants is absolutely necessary, because the legitimate, desperate migrants who want to work, want a peaceful life, they need to be protected. There is a reason behind this. Migrants who are criminals, migrants who are systemic criminals need to be deported. Even as a Liberal Democrat, I say that. Because I've got migrant communities who are just hard-working people who have bad fucking lives, who just want to get on with their lives. They're the people I need to protect. And that's generally the mindset I hold. You've got something to end with on a good note, haven't you?
Yeah, good note, yes. Improved breast screening could detect an extra 3,500 cancers a year in the UK study.
Nice!
Yeah. Improved breast screening in the UK could identify an extra 3,000 cases per year and save hundreds of lives, researchers have said. A new trial found extra scans for some women could pick up early stage cancers that remain hidden during regular mammograms, more than troubling cancer detection. Tripling, yeah. Researchers from the University of Cambridge are now calling for additional scans to be added to breast screening programs for the group of women who have denser breasts. Around 10% of women have very dense breasts, which means they have more fibrous and glandular tissues and less fatty tissue than other women. Those with denser breasts are already known to face a fourfold increased risk of breast cancer compared to women without. A new trial published in the Lancet Medical Journal was carried out on 9,360 women across the UK who have dense breasts and had a negative no cancer mammogram result. During the trial, which looked at additional scanning methods, an extra 85 cancers were found.
Fucking hell.
Two methods examined were consistent enhanced mammography CME, where a dye is used to make the blood vessels more visible, and I'm going to just do it as the anagram ABMRI, which is a faster than regular MRI.
Yeah, resource imaging.
Magnetic resource imaging.
Magnetic resource imaging.
The experts calculated that adding either of these methods to existing breast screening could detect 3,500 more cancers.
Excellent.
I think that's
anything that catches this kind of anything that improves our sciences, our medicine, anything that makes the lives of our citizens better should be encouraged, supported, and financed without reservation. And to be fair, scanning equipment isn't that expensive, I don't think.
Well, by the looks of it, it's already standing equipment that we already have. They're just asking it to be used
in this methodology.
In methodology,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant news. Absolutely brilliant news. I'm very, very happy about that because I think that's a necessary.
I think that's a progression in the right direction.
I mean, when are you getting yours done?
Fuck off.
But yeah,
when the doctor says I could potentially have one, otherwise that I ain't.
Dwarfocles is getting a bit arry about his man boobs.
I don't have man boobs. Not anymore, anyway.
Not anymore, he says, defensively. Well, that comes to the end of podcast 22. Thank you all for joining us. If you've come here to the end, we deeply appreciate you. We love you for all what you do. All, now 530 of them. 530.
Please spread the word.
Absolutely. Share and subscribe if you haven't, if you're returning viewers. And as always, I'm John, Yahya or Sean, depends who the fuck you're asking.
I'm Chris.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Your Voice, Your Nation.